Every interactive element on a web page receives keyboard focus when the user presses the Tab key. That is unless the attribute tab index is added to elements. When the value of tab index is artificially altered and used incorrectly, it causes many headaches. In this lecture, I'll discuss the tab index attribute, an attribute that has the power to really ruin the logical tab order of any web page. I'll explain the implied tab ordering of interactive components, how this can be changed using tab index, and show how the values of -1 can be used to restrict the keyboard focus from hidden elements, and a value of 0 creates a sequential ordering sequence. By the end of this lecture, you'll understand how an incorrect tab index value can adversely affect the keyboard navigation of a web page. You'll be able to hide content from the keyboard tab sequence using the value -1, introduce content into the regular keyboard sequence using a value of 0, and understand nothing good ever comes from a positive tab index value. Every tab key press advances the screen focus one position to the right onto the next interactive element. Links and form controls have an implied focus, and these elements receive screen focus in the order they're laid out on screen. This ordering begins at the very first interactive element and is at the top of the screen before moving across and down in a sort of Z pattern, depending how a page is structured. The tab index attribute on elements can be used to reorder the sequence in which interactive elements receive focus. Elements laid out on screen in no particular order receive keyboard focus in the same way they are displayed visually, and it's how users expect the behavior to work. The tab index attribute accepts 3 possible values: -1, 0, and 1 and above. The most problematic values are 1 and above. The positive numbers bring negative outcomes. Adding tab index -1 to any element removes it from the document's tab order and renders it unfocusable from the keyboard. Elements with a tab index of -1 are displayed to the screen as expected, so nothing visual changes. But when navigating via the keyboard, these elements, which should be natively focusable from the keyboard, are now ignored. Using this value is useful to alter the focus sequence on elements. Links in a hamburger menu, where many of the navigation links are hidden in a pop-out menu, aren't required to be focusable until the menu is shown. When the menu is shown, tab index -1 is replaced with tab index 0 and the items are now focusable. Tab index 0 will allow a component to become focusable and part of the document's natural tab sequence. Native HTML elements provide this behavior as standard, and the attribute isn't required to be added to those elements. If it is added, it won't change anything to an ordinarily focusable element, but it is redundant. This attribute and value are used when custom components are developed. Custom components constructed with div and span elements don't receive keyboard focus natively, because the span and div elements are non-semantic and have no meaning. Adding a tab index 0 onto the element fixes this and allows the elements to become focusable, and it's focusable in the order it's laid out on screen. But when using regular interactive HTML elements, it's unlikely this attribute and value would need to be used, as the behavior is default. Tab index 1 and above, this is the problem value. Users expect the focus elements on a page to be navigable from the keyboard in a sequential order. How elements are laid out on screen should be how they receive focus, but this all changes with a tab index value of 1 or above. This is repurposing the element's natural tab index ordering. Elements with a tab index 1 and above take precedence when the tab key is pressed, and they have an elevated priority to be focused first. Interactive elements, which may be laid out visually at the very top of the page, will not be tabbed to first, and instead any elements with a positive tab index will be focusable first. Confusing, isn't it? When all links in the footer region of a page have positive tab index values, the value elevates the focus priority of elements. A user tabbing through the page would tab to these links first before the focus jumps to the top of the page to focus on links which don't have the tab index value. This small change has resulted in the page becoming a confusing sequence of tab positions. A positive sequential tab index can be used on every interactive element, and this will result in a logical focus sequence if it also matches the visual order. But this behavior is already available when regular interactive elements are used which already have an implied tab index 0 value. Avoid tab index values of 1 and above unless used very carefully. It can end up making a page really difficult to understand and navigate around. Avoiding an artificial tab index on interactive elements satisfies the general technique G59, placing the interactive elements in an order that follows sequences and relationships within the content, and the HTML-specific technique H4, creating a logical tab order through links, form controls, and objects, which means this passes 2.4.3 focus order. If a web page can be navigated sequentially and the navigation sequences affect meaning or operation, focusable components receive focus in an order that preserves meaning and operability at level A. In this lecture, I explained the tab index attribute and how its value can have a big impact on the tab ordering sequence of a page. The only values which should be used are -1 and 0. A value of -1 removes the element from the focus sequence, and a value of 0 adds the element into the natural document tab sequence. If values of 1 and above are used without understanding how it affects the page focus, it can result in the focus order of the page being different to its visual order. This video is from our Introduction to Web Accessibility WCAG 2.1 Udemy course. The course is designed to teach you the fundamentals of web accessibility and how to apply those techniques to websites that you create. If you're interested in finding out a little more, check out the link in the description below, as well as links to a full transcript. If you want to stay up to date with web accessibility and to learn cutting-edge techniques, consider subscribing and click the bell icon to be notified when new videos are uploaded.